Hi guys, this is Pratik and welcome to my Pratik Automation Space channel. So today we're gonna discuss about like how we can use Docker with Selenium. Like we are using Selenium for our automation with different client bindings. Like we have someone is using Java, some of the teams are using like Python, and some guys are using the Ruby and all those languages for Selenium. So irrespective of any language, like we can use Selenium with Docker. So like nowadays, like it's like very famous terms we keep hearing, like okay, containerization, virtualization, all those stuff. So we we sometimes we think like, okay, what is Docker, what is container, what is virtualization? So earlier we are using a VM like for setting up our for running our tests on different machines, like setting up running our test scripts on say different set of configuration, set of platforms. Like if I want to run my test script on uh, like Windows with Firefox, or like Mac on Chrome, then I need to set up a Selenium grid. Like okay, so the grid hub is in my local system, and I need to set up and run my I need to set up different virtual machines, right? But now like Docker is in the place, so which makes this whole system very easy. So that's what we're gonna discuss. But before that, like I would like to tell you that please subscribe, like, if you like this video, please like this, please share your comments, like, and I will gonna upload more and more uh, videos in this series. So for today, like the agenda of this today video is just to give the overview of the Docker, comparison between the virtualization and containerization, why we need Docker, and what Docker helps us in automation space, right? So let's get started. So before like going into the containerization, I would like to tell you like what is virtualization. So virtualization, as we know, like is running multiple operating system on a computer. So as I mentioned before, that there is of like we need to run a test script. We have a set of test cases like 100 and 200 and 300 test cases, as we want to run those test cases on uh, on like different set of platforms. So what I need to do is like I need to create different virtual machines. So one VM having having window operating system and set of like or and and then I need to set up different application like Chrome and all those stuff, and like Firefox. And then I need to set up a different virtual machine with say suppose Red Hat and Linux, and I need to set up the application on that. And suppose there is some other requirement, like I need to set up Mac OS. And then so in this way, like we have to set up like a farm of virtual machines where we have like do create a lot of virtual machines, and where we need to run our test cases. So for the virtualization, like suppose I want to use virtualization. So I suppose I have my Mac OS in my system. Okay, so I need to like download some of the virtual machine softwares. Like we have VMware, we have Oracle VirtualBox. So that will basically install a one layer which is called hypervisor. So that is a layer that is installed above my host operating system. So what it does is like uh, create an abstraction layer on my host operating system, right? So suppose if I need to create my if I need to create like Windows operating system VM, then I need to install Windows operating system on top of this hypervisor layer. So basically we not need to install individual operating system by our own. It's basically an image which consists ISO image which has all the operating systems and configuration. So basically I need, but the problem here is like we need to install individual operating system. So suppose this VM1 is having its own guest operating system. When VM2 will have its own guest operating system, so you can think of, guys, like it will take a lot of space. It's a wastage of space which is very like costly. So, and also for individual VM, like the maintenance cost will be very high, because I need to set up individual operating system which is guest operating system on top of my host operating system. So I need to provide their individual like memory, the physical memory it require, hard disk memory it required. So it's a lot of memory is wasted, so in this process it's a basically expensive process. And also like the time to boot, like if I want to like start this much VM, so it will take some time, because it's a kind of one operating system is getting started. So in this form it will take a lot of space. Similarly here, like this uh, on shutdown it will take some times. So this is what like virtualization is. Now moving into the containerization. So containerization is basically, we know it's a thin virtualization. So as you can see, like here we don't have a guest operating system here, is because containerization basically use all the like setting operating system settings, like kernel BIOS setting and memory space requirement. It basically uses from its host operating system only. It doesn't require guest operating system. That is the main advantage of using containerization, which is basically provided by Docker. So the definition, you can say, containerization is, it's basically a bundling of your application together with all the related configuration file, libraries and dependency required to run your application in different computing environments. So basically, suppose I have my developer has created one application, so it has all the configurations and all the property file, everything, all the third party libraries. So suppose that application is working on their environment, and that developer basically give me that application. Now I install that application on my environment, but I found that that application is not working because of some system setting that is there in developer's system, but that is not exist in my system. So it's again like discussion and a lot of time wastage in that case, uh, to have to see, to debug all those cases. But in case of containerization, what dev can do is, like, they can build the they can build the images out of this container, create the images, and I can and ship that image. So I can use that images, I can pull those images. We will see like what all, like what is like images and what is container and everything, just to understand that, like, uh, the running instance is called container. So they can convert this container into an image. I can pull that image, I can again like run that image into the container. So all the configuration property file will I will I will be getting all those configuration file in my system. So that is what the advantage of containerization, guys. Okay, so as of now from our discussion we already know like why we need Docker, because we need to test our system on different platform before shipping it to the customer. So that is the advantage of Docker. With the help of Docker, we can set up a very different type of platforms with very ease, and the time to start and time to basically to ship is also like reduced. So what is Docker? So Docker is a containerization platform, as we already discussed. It's basically it's based on the principle of build, ship, and run. So in basically containerization, like we have seen, like we don't need a guest operating system to be installed. All the dependency, all the configurations, we can package them in the form of container, and that container is completely isolated from another container, right? So this is what a containerization platform, which is offered by Docker. Okay, Docker image. And what is Docker image? So yeah, Docker image is a file that is built from set of instruction file called docker file. So like set of instruction files we have, like docker provide a set of instruction file which we call a docker file. So docker file is basically a set of instructions. Okay, what is my images, what is my, a set of configuration. So we can basically convert this, like in Java we write code, so that is basically .java extension, right? When we compile it, it converted into .class file. So you can think of like docker file is .java file kind of thing, and when we compile it, when we build it, we call it build process in the docker that converted into an image, right? And then we have, dot class file in Java. Then we create an different objects of that dot class file, right? So that is so similarly we create different containers out of this image. So we can say the running instances of the image is containerization containers. So as I mentioned, like docker container is a running instance of your docker image. And docker hub is like kind of like we have, like we do a check-in of our code in the central repository. So if someone is using GitHub, all those stuff. So similarly, like they have docker hub. It's a cloud-based repository for storing your docker images. So suppose dev team uh, check in the images into the docker hub, push that image into the docker hub, and like we can pull, and anyone can pull that images from the docker hub and convert that image into the running instance of the container. So this is called docker hub. Okay, that's all for like docker and docker in advantage and containerization. So how it help us in like automation. So like as I mentioned, like in the previously, like when we need to run our test scripts in multiple nodes, like Selenium grid without docker, in this particular image you can see like we need to set up the VM like for different type of, like for Windows, for Chrome, Windows with Firefox, and Windows, like suppose Mac with Chrome and Mac with Firefox, and similar different like platform and maintenance cost will be like very high, guys, like because we need to maintain like different driver versions, different browser versions, right? And there are sometimes, like we run into so many issues like firewall issues, right? And proxy issues and all those stuffs, right? And the maintenance cost becomes very high in this case. But in case of Docker, like we are running in my local system only, like I have hub on my local system only, and all it's basically running inside the container, and like I can run those images into the container, and that is like within the same system I am running all those stuff. So basically there are some already pre-built images like for Chrome debug and Firefox debug in the Docker hub. We need to pull those images, convert it into the container, and then we can create the grid and node hub setup. It is very easy. We'll see like how can we use that in the later videos. And that's all, like the hub is and the grid hub setup is already there, and we can use it. So it basically reduces all those costs. And same way, like I can basically, if it's running and in my system, like I can convert this container and can build it this container into an image, and I can provide to my another teammate. So he has all the configuration, all the property, every system setting he has on that image, and he just then can convert that image into the container. And again, like he will not have to do a lot of configurations and setting up all those machines. So this will be basically save a lot of effort. So basically the time to ship the product will be reduced, and which in case will basically increase your return on investment, which it will increase your ROI, guys. So this is what like Docker helps in us in automation. So we will see in next videos like how we can set up Docker on Mac. So I am using Mac, so we'll see like, so there's nothing different between Mac and it's just a setup kind of things. We'll see like how we can set up, and how some of the basic commands of Docker, how to run the test scripts on Docker, and all those stuff. Till then, keep watching, and please share if you like this video, and Thank you guys. Have a nice day. Bye bye.